Oh man, chipping in with one wicket as well. Thank you so much for tuning in to ESPN Cricinfo Match Days. We're joined in studio by Mike Hussey, Murali, Kartik, Daren, Ganga from the West Indies, Dan Vettori joining us from New Zealand, and also Alexis Nunes, who is in Manchester right now and is the first person I will talk to. Alexis, what is the sense you're getting from the fans right now? One of disappointment, heartbreak, shock?
Exactly that. I think you summed it up perfectly there. Disappointment, heartbreak, and a bit of shock. And I mean, we heard the crowd as well when they read out the score earlier on from the match between India and Afghanistan. Everyone was kind of rooting for Afghanistan while they were watching the West Indies. We, of course, had to come outside to set up this fabulous shot. So I couldn't get to see the last bit of Carlos Brathwaite's innings there, but I knew when his wicket fell because we heard a big and then the stadium went dead silent after that, and that's when we knew it was all over. I could quickly see some New Zealand fans celebrating, but everyone was absolutely rooting for the West Indies, the underdogs today, Afghanistan and the West Indies, and unfortunately they were not able to pull it off. But still, Carlos Brathwaite, remember that name. Many, I'm not pointing any fingers at Daren Ganga, even though he knows I will probably. We're questioning his inclusion in this side because, again, he's not really done much to really warrant a cemented place in this side. I mean, people were even wondering why he was in the squad to come to this World Cup. It has something to do with the Super 50, our regional tournament, when he captained the combined campuses and colleges and took them to victory, and that basically brought his name back into the fold for the West Indies one-day team. And today, hopefully, it served as a reminder, even though mainly with the ball, people will be questioning if he leaked a little too many runs there. But with the bat, he definitely reminded us exactly what he's capable of. But overall, for the West Indies, I mean, I got to sit in the box with Mikey Holding, who couldn't be joining us right now, and Sir Curtly Ambrose. And I guess what they would say is that they definitely were disappointed, mainly with the batting, because coming into the World Cup, the batting seemed to be the West Indies' strong point and not the bowling. And now, at least in this match, it kind of looked like that was a weaker point. Even though the whole thing was set up for them, we know that the West Indies do love a chase, and they definitely do love a thrilling chase. But we always say, like Drake says, it's 0 or 100 real quick, and that's exactly how the West Indies love to bat. As Mikey Holding had told me earlier, that there was never a point in this chase that he felt that the West Indies needed to take a risk. They should have probably looked at how New Zealand went about things when they lost those early wickets, and unfortunately that's just not the West Indian way of approaching things. They kept it thrilling, they kept it risky. It went down, New Zealand only winning by 5 runs, but it definitely is a roller coaster of emotions, and probably maybe if they had managed to cement some partnerships just like how New Zealand showed them earlier on in the day, we probably would be looking at a West Indies win today.
Thanks so much for that, Alexis. And of course, after that mention of Daren Ganga, I do have to go to Daren straight up because Daren, first and foremost, Carlos Brathwaite, what did you make of his performance tonight?
Herculean effort, I would say, with the bat. Something that we haven't seen often from Carlos Brathwaite. Yes, many persons, even myself, was questioning the inclusion of Carlos Brathwaite in this team because he's not delivered with ball and bat for quite a number of years since his heroics in the T20 World Cup final. But today he showed exactly the power hitting skills that he has. 5 sixes. He came from nowhere to bring the West Indies on the brink of victory. He will be disappointed in the end when many people felt that it was lost and gone. But I think, he had an opportunity. If you look back on that last delivery that he got out in, he had an opportunity possibly to get a single and give himself a chance of scoring 6 runs in the last over. He will probably reflect on that and think that what might have been if he had decided differently. But again, it has shown some sort of fight. It has also reminded us that this West Indian batting lineup is very brittle. Some injudicious shots as well. You think about Chris Gayle, you think about Hetmyer, Nicholas Pooran as well, who's only played 2 or 3 first-class matches. And he hasn't scored a century in any form of the game, even List A and first-class cricket. So that's asking a big sort of task from a young man to bat at number 3 in a World Cup and produce runs consistently. So the West Indies will be disappointed. Their hopes of qualifying now in the top 4 has been dashed, but they've played in a manner which I think will bring some sort of pride to West Indian spectators.
Yes, we're also joined by Dan Vettori. Dan, first and foremost, sir, you've done an all-nighter for ESPN Cricinfo. I think they're sending a hamper your way pretty soon. But beyond that, Dan, was there a moment in that game when you thought, probably West Indies is walking away with the win here?
No, I think it was always relatively confident. I think the fact that New Zealand kept taking wickets, and they kept taking wickets at crucial stages. So the Gale Hetmyer partnership was the one that gave West Indies a chance. But I think once those wickets were taken, you always thought that New Zealand could get through, even though Brathwaite played so exceptionally well. Because he had Cottrell at one end and then Thomas, I think New Zealand just wanted to manipulate it so that they could get that tail ender on strike and then give themselves an opportunity for a Ferguson or a BOULT to bowl at them for a couple of balls. So I think when you're trying to manipulate the innings like Brathwaite was at the end there, it's always down to 1 or 2 balls, and so New Zealand always had that opportunity there. But I think you step back and say, what an amazing innings. I mean, to be in that position, to give the West Indies a chance, to score 100 batting at 8, I mean, all those little things show what a special innings it was, and to give West Indies a chance in that tough situation. But I think the real credit goes to the likes of Trent, BOULT and Ferguson to take those crucial wickets to always keep New Zealand on top.
Mike, Daren brought it up in the chat as well about that final ball. Should he have taken it for a single? Because sometimes, I know you've played out that innings of a lifetime, not taking it away from you, but at the end of the day, it hasn't got the job done.
Yeah, well, I guess in hindsight...
Am I being too harsh over here?
Well, no, but in hindsight, obviously they probably would have preferred him to take the single and then go down the other end and try and knock it off in the last over. But I was sitting there thinking, okay, what would I want to do in that situation? And realising that he's on 100, he's obviously seeing the ball really well. I'd be thinking, okay, if the ball's there and I think I can hit it out of the park, I'm going to go for it. Don't hold back. If it's not there, or it's a good Yorker or a slower ball that I don't feel I can get away for 6, then yes, take the single. I felt as though he got himself into a position where he could get a good swing on the ball. He made decent contact, and we're talking probably about half a metre. Yeah. Half a metre more, and that's probably going over. Give some credit to Trent BOULT on the catch as well.
Yes.
There's big pressure on that catch right on the boundary line, leaning over almost. So we're literally talking, less than a metre probably further, and that's West Indians' game. So I don't begrudge him for going for it in that last ball. Yes, in hindsight, with the way the game finished, maybe you'd say, okay, take the single. But it was there. He just didn't quite get it out of the middle. It almost got there, and it was an amazing innings. I feel for him because of, you sort of feel like he deserved to get the West Indians home by playing such a great innings. Had some good help along the way. I thought Kemar Roach played really well. Also, Cottrell stayed with him for a period of time as well. They never gave up hope, but just fell short. I just had a feeling, and I think I was saying to you while the game was playing on, I still felt like New Zealand were going to get over the line.
Your prediction was correct, sir.
There's always a twist in the tail at the end, and what an incredible game of cricket.
If you were meeting Carlos Brathwaite right now, and you've missed out by 5 runs, and you've played an innings of a lifetime, what would you be saying to him then?
Tough luck, buddy, because that was an innings of a lifetime, to be very honest. You don't take a team from that situation where you're dead and buried with just tailenders next to you, with a good bowling lineup in front of you where nobody's giving you a chance to play that kind of an innings. So yeah, tough luck, because again, it was, as Huss pointed out, possibly a couple of yards. And if that had gone, we would be hailing him as a hero, and you would be saying, remember the name. So
always pick on the presenter.
No, let's not pick on the presenter. That's how game goes. See,
true.
If they had lost by 70 runs, our talks would be very different. We are talking about a tight game which is gone to the wire, where a guy who's got 100 sees the ball. And again, exact same thoughts I was going through. I said, what would you do? It's like, if it's there in the slot, and that's how he's gotten there. Sometimes when you change your tactic and then you end up losing, he says, it was there, he hit it. It's just that somebody took a good catch, it didn't possibly go past. It was going past, but he took a good catch. So I won't fault him for that, and all you can say is hard luck, champion.
Daren, in a sense, the reason this game went to the final over is also because at all times, West Indies made sure they were keeping up with the run rate. They were pretty much on par with it.
That's the manner in which they played. We've seen that throughout this World Cup. Their explosive side, you look at their boundary hitting skills. They hit a lot of boundaries as a batting unit, and that is something that has taken them over the line when they've done well as a team and as a batting unit. The same approach was being adopted you look at Chris Gayle, you look at Hetmyer in the manner in which they've played, aggression is their first choice. And, just like the bowling, sometimes in 50-over cricket, you need to adjust, you need to adapt. Like we saw with the West Indies in this game against New Zealand, it was not about short and aggressive. It was more about consistent lines and lengths. I think the same adjustment and adaptability has to be shown with the batting. You can't just play one-dimensional cricket all the time in wide ball cricket. I think it's more contextual, and that is where I think the West Indians fell down today with their batting. Possibly, you think about it, they lost by 5 runs. A little more application in the middle, a little 10 runs, 12 runs, 15 runs here or there with the partnerships across the innings would have easily taken the West Indies over the line. So those are the things that they would look back on. I still think that, whilst you have aggression, you must also have players who are different style to complement the aggressive type players. And that is what was lacking today in the approach.
Dan, a word on Colin de Grandhomme. What is it about Colin de Grandhomme that whenever he comes on to bowl, he picks up those very crucial wickets, today being Chris Gayle?
I think it's the way that Kane uses them in particular. It's in a situation where either they're right on top or they're in dire straits sometimes. And I think when they're right on top, he's able to be aggressive, sometimes on a swinging wicket, and he gets his wickets that way. And then when it's sort of sometimes last resort, Kane turns to him and says, I'm not sure what you're going to do here, but can you have a go? And Colin has that attitude that he's just going to go in and try to do something. You see it with his batting. He's fearless. He doesn't worry about the situation of the game, and I think it's the same with his bowling. He doesn't take into account what is going on in the game. He's just going to run in and bowl, and I think that's where his real skill is, and it's something that not a lot of the rest of the New Zealand team has. And I think that attitude can be contagious for the rest of the team, to see him just walk up into the game in any situation and have the confidence to do something. And I guess that's why Kane turns to him in these situations, that he knows he has that ability just to get on with the job. And we saw it again here today. We saw it in the South African game when he was batting, and that's what makes him such an X factor for the New Zealand team.
Dan brought about how Kane has, of course, bowlers in that team that can be brought on in any situation and you take wickets, i.e. Lockie Ferguson. You play him up top, you play him in the middle, you play him at the death like today, and he picks up wickets, coupled with Trent Boult really coming back into wicket-taking form. And they're looking a formidable bowling unit.
Yeah, that's the best I've seen Boult bowl for a long time. He swung that new ball. His pace looks up as well. There's been various stages over the last year or so where I felt as though his pace had dropped away a little bit. But today and maybe in the last couple of games, he's starting to get that real good rhythm going. Ferguson is such an impressive bowler. He's got good pace, excellent slower ball as well. His confidence is really high. I like the way Kane Williamson used those two at the end as well. He didn't save them till right at the end. He brought them back a little bit earlier than he probably would have in a normal sort of run chase, or even if they were, say, setting, for example. And he went for the win. He said, come on, knock these guys over now, and let's not leave it to the last 2 or 3 overs. Okay, so the West Indians played well to get through them, but it was good tactics, I think, for Williamson to go for the jugular and try and win the match early.
Yeah, and whenever you talk about Trent Boult bowling versus the West Indies, he just picks up wickets whenever he plays these guys. Take a look at some of these numbers, Kartik. 8 matches versus West Indies in ODI cricket, 21 wickets, averages 14.04, economy of 4.12. What is it about the Windies that this guy is always tearing through them and getting the wickets?
Look, every player has a favourite team, and sometimes when you look at somebody like Trent Boult who swings the ball, he does trouble the left-handers early doors if the ball is swinging. And any person, and especially the way the Windies bat, they are trying to be aggressive and they don't use their feet too much, and they've always been vulnerable against swing bowling. And any batsman is. You can bowl quick at them and quick at certain people, but if you're able to swing the ball, I think you do cause problems. And again, as I said, you do have, every player has certain favourites. Lakshman had Australia as his favourite. He would get runs. So you can, why do you put it? Possibly he likes pace on the ball. He gets runs. Trent Boult, I feel, does swing the ball to Windies, and that's why he troubles them.
Add to that, you've got an experienced captain who knows when to put you on and get the best out of that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is where Kane is very good. In fact, I thought today when he brought on Mitchell Santner against Hetmyer and Chris Gayle, I thought that was brilliant. It was like throwing a bait in front of a shark and asking him to go for it. And he went for it. And to Kane's credit and to Mitchell Santner's credit, he should have had Gale twice in 1 over. So we've seen that with Gale. He sometimes wants to dominate left arm spin, and that's where that ego can come into play. And if you're crafty enough and if you're gutsy enough, you can get that man. And that's exactly what happened. So somebody might say, oh, he got tonked for a few runs, but it was a good move to bring him on early doors and try and get. Because if they, as we've seen, those two got out and it was a different game.
Right, for all our viewers in the Caribbean now, it's time for us to head back to Manchester for the post-match presentation as Michael Atherton is standing by with both the captains. And for all our viewers on ESPN Digital Worldwide, that's the end of our show today. For all you guys in the Caribbean, don't go anywhere because we'll see you after the presentation.